Hey guys, Mr. Riz here. So I'm going to help you guys out with activity 117. Today you guys will be doing part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is a quiz and part 2 is something that you guys will submit. So let's go ahead and start with part 1. We're talking about transversing turtles. Okay, so our goal in this section is to make sure we use a list to represent a collection of data, and we're going to add, remove elements to and from a list. And we're going to use a loop to iterate through the elements of a list. So first off, list. The first 5 activities, we've asked you to work with individual turtles and variables, but it's useful to know how a group of similar type of items work together. For example, if you represent animals in a code, you might want to group the animals according to similar properties. Even different animals like dogs and cats can be grouped to capture their movement, temperament, eating, sleeping habits, and describe physical properties such as fur color. In Python, we group data types with constructs known as list. Some other programming languages refer to similar data types as an array. All right, so yeah, well, they're pretty interchangeable. I will say list just because that's what we will be using is in Python. All right, anything can be grouped together in a list. Numbers, words, fruits, animals, colors, even turtles can be put into a list. In this activity, you will create and manage multiple turtles at the same time using lists. So let's review this code here. We have new list equals. Now, when we construct a list, we use these hard brackets and we put everything inside of it and we separate those by commas. So if I run this here, I say print new list, it will, computer's running real slow today. There we go, print off what the new list is, dog, cat, mouse, bird, monkey. All right, when we run the program, the new list shows the individual list items in single quotes. In Python, you can use either single or double quotation for string literals. All right, the code samples through the code, which will use double quotes. So yeah, it's the same thing, but it prints off single. All right, run the program. Did you get what you expect? So when we just say print new list, it printed off the whole list. It didn't print off things individually. It just print off the whole list by itself. So if you wanted a program to later add an element to the end of the list, you can do this by using the append method. So we can watch this little video here of how it's done. So here we go, it's a great video. If I have animal list.append and I put in the parentheses lion, what it will do is then add lion to the list. Now, the one thing you guys might notice here too, we'll close the 9 Club preview here. Each item here is numbered. We do start with the number 0. So the first item in the list is 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then lion would be item number 5, which is the 6th item. So let's look at this list, see if it makes sense. So if we have new list is dog, cat, mouse, bird, monkey, new list.append lion will print list is now new list. So let's see what this looks like when we run it. All right, list is now dog, cat, mouse, bird, monkey, and then we see lion is added to it. All right, what if you wanted to get the last item that was placed in the list and remove it? You might, much like you want to grab like the top item out of a basket of a bag, okay? The pop method in Python removes the last item from a list and assigns it to a variable. Think of the pop method as popping an item off the list. All right, so if we have this here, dog, cat, mouse, bird, monkey, item equals new list.pop. Print popped item, so we'll print off what's the last item, the list is now. So we'll run this. All right, the popped was monkey, and the list is now dog, cat, mouse, bird. You can see monkey is no longer in our list. Okay, so let's talk about what's used mostly with lists are for loops. So once you have a list, it's common that a program needs to repeat a task for each item in the list. To do this, you can construct what's called a for loop. The for loop is similar to a while loop as it will iterate through a sequence of code. However, the for loop is different in that it tells the program to run through the list and for each item in the list given a task. When used on a list, the for loop retrieves each element from a list and assigns it to the loop variable. The loop variable, you will have the program execute the same sequence code for each element. In fact, the loop variable can be assigned to each element of a list interaction of this. So one example might be, and this is a big one here. So we'll say like for every variable in a list. So we usually call this variable, sometimes we'll just call this I, like it's the iterable Sometimes we'll actually use words here to help us describe. What we will do here is look at the variable, and that's what every item in the list gets assigned to. All right, the list is what we're going to go back to refer to. So it's got to be a list at least of one element or more. And then we always end with a colon, like how we end an if statement with a colon or a while loop with a colon. We tab in the space here to make it the construction, and then we have the body or the structure we will do for that loop. So let's go ahead, look at this for loop here. All right, we have new lists as dog, cat, mouse, bird, monkey for every animal in new list. So this animal is the variable. The new list is the reference list, which is right here. So what this is going to do is for every item in new list, we're going to assign it to the variable animal and print that off. So when we run this here, we get dog, cat, mouse, bird, because what happens here is the first item in the list is dog. It gets assigned to the variable animal and we print off that. Then it gets refreshed because we move on to the next one. Cat gets assigned to animal and we print that off. Okay. So what is different about outputting this versus print new list? So you guys will answer these questions here. So what's different? Well, when I just do print new list, it puts them all into one big block. It shows me what the entire list is. This shows each element one time, each in its own row, or each in its own new print statement. For the for loop continues to execute as long as the elements in the list. Wait, let me say that again. The for loop continues to execute as long as it has elements in the list. This repetition is called iteration. The while loop also iterates. How many times does this loop iterate? So if we go back, how many times did this execute? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements in the list. It would execute or iterate 5 times. The loop assigns each element in the for loop assigns each element in the list to the loop variable. What is the loop variable? So what was the name of this loop variable in the code? That was called animal. All right, next what we're going to do is add the following line of code below and the statement print animal. So we're going to print next animal. Add the following line of indented code below the for statement above the print animal. So we'll copy this. So before, make sure I do this in the right side, before the statement and above. All right, next animal, dog, next animal, cat, next animal, mouse, next animal, bird. Okay, so we get that. Run the code, you should see 10 lines of output, 2 for each iteration of the loop. If you were to add 2 more print statements underneath the statement, how many lines would be printed off? So if we were to add 2 more print statements here, you know, print anything, print something, print again, how many total lines of input would that be? All right, so think about that, do the math real quick. How many total print statements we have times by the number of elements in each, there's your number. All right, so now let's do some logical thinking. Assume you have a list of numbers such as a list equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which of the following statements would add a new number to the list? Select all that apply. A list equals a plus 6, a list equals 6, okay, we know the dot append adds new, so let's see if any of these new methods work. So let's go to our code here, and maybe I'm going to go through this one and I'm just going to delete it out. I'll say like print a list. All right, and before that, let's check out this code. All right, so if I have a list equals a list plus 6, so maybe this could potentially add a 6 to the list. Paste that in there. Do we get, okay, we get an error, so that doesn't work. All right, a list equals 6. All right, so maybe we'll change this. Okay, now that doesn't work. That didn't print off because that just changed it from being a list to just now the number 6. Okay, let's go ahead. We know the dot append worked. Okay, what about dot add? Is that something new we haven't learned about? All right, that does not work. Dot add is not a new one in here. All right, a list equals a list plus, and then it has 6 in its own list. Maybe that one might work. And that one did work. So the two ways that we can add something to a list is using the .append method or taking the list and adding another list to it. All right, so assume you have the list such as a list equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Select the statement that iterates through the list. So for number in a list, for num, comma, a list, for each num. Okay, so remember it is always for a variable in the list. We don't use commas to separate anything like those. Yeah, we always call the variable. All right, lastly, assume you have the list as a list equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What value would return the value of num after the following code was executed? Num equals a list.pop, num equals a list.pop. So it's on there twice. So what would the value of num be? Well, let's see. Pop is going to take the last one out and assign it. So a list pop would go here. And then the list would be smaller. And if we pop it again, the next number would be 4. And let's just double check that. We'll submit the quiz, see how well we do. Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't type in one of the answers. So look through, did we do? Yeah, that one was left blank because I didn't answer that one. No, that one I didn't type in. And there we go, we got those right. Okay, let's move on to part 2 here to help us out. All right, so part 2, we're going to list this here. So list and the for loop go naturally together. All right, you can create many elements in a list and process all of them in a small amount of code using for loops. In this part of the activity, you will create and process lists of turtles. Up until now, you've been using different shapes of turtles, typically arrows. Here you will loop through a list of other shapes and change the turtle shape. Excuse me, I'm fighting a sneeze right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is open this and we're going to fork it like we've done before. All right, because this is something we're going to be building off of, a little bit more complex code. All right, so explore some of the new and or interesting part of the code. So, well, let's run it. Let's see what happens. Ooh, cool. We get these different shapes that pop up. So at line 6, you know what? I'm going to split screen this so we can kind of look at the code and look at our assignment at the same time. There we go. That's good. And I'm going to make sure you guys can see this. Yeah. All right. At line 6, which is right here, there's nothing between this brackets. This means my list turtles has nothing in it. It's an empty list. Later in the code, you will add or append the turtles to this list. Okay, so we start out line 6. We have my turtles, and it's blank. We don't have anything in it. All right, in 9 and 10, you create 2 lists with references to shapes and colors. So we got turtle shapes, all the references to those, and the colors as well. All right, lines 12 through 14 populates or adds. So let's see that right here. Yep, adds to the items to my turtles list. So we have t equals turtle.turtle, t.shape s. All right, so if this is for every shape in turtles, we're going to go ahead and append that turtle. So we make a turtle, we change its shape to s, which is, as we go through the first time it's arrow, s is arrow, so we change it to arrow. Then the next time s becomes turtle, we change it to our turtle, and then we add that turtle to the my turtles list. So we're changing the property of the turtle, and then we're adding the turtle itself to the my turtles list. All right, for each variable, yep, the s gets that, and finally the new turtle will be appended. The remaining lines of code should be familiar for you. Okay, so we have them go forward and they turn right, and we actually increase for every t in turtle, we go forward, and then we make it go up 50 each time. I run the program, see what it does. Add your own comments. So we're going to add our comments in your own words at line 16, which is already here. There's blank comments. So what do these do? Okay. So what is the comment of this one here? We'll start X, start Y. So if we run this here, remember, if we're ever confused, we can always change this. All right. So run this. All right, so this is the initial starting location of the turtles. All right, then for every T in my turtles, so this for every turtle that's in the my turtles list, we have that turtle go to the starting X and Y location. We have it turn right 45 degrees and go forward 50. All righty, so is that what happens here? So this first one here, he turned 45 degrees and goes right. All right, then next, so they turn, each turtle will turn 45 and turn and go forward 50. All right, then we have still within this list, start X plus start Y, or start X equals start X plus 50, start. So then what we're going to do is increase the start X and start Y. So if we started here at 0, 0, the next turtle, when it goes through, will start at 50, 50. And then the next turtle over 100, up 100, over 100. So, all right. We change the starting location of the next turtle. Okay, so we're going to screenshot the code if we want, or you guys can send this to me. So screenshot this code to make sure you guys have added the pseudocode and we are good. So we can go around and we'll mess with this more, and that's what we're going to do in the next section here. But right now we just want to make sure we understand what the code is doing. All right, guys, so hopefully this helped you out and you guys are doing good and having fun with this section. I'll see you guys next time.